Hey, what is going on, everybody? Bauer Brown here. Welcome back to the channel, guys, and welcome to the next video in the Blender tutorial series. Alrighty, so hopefully everybody's been paying attention because we're going to jump right into this and just keep on moving. Unfortunately, we are not going to be building anything today. We're going to get into a little bit more terminology and a few more functions of Blender so, we can keep working on our models and make some neat stuff, right? All right, so one thing quickly that I wanted to go over, and this is just a correction from the last video. A lot of the times, I am not infallible. I tell you guys, do certain things, make sure you look out for this and you look out for that. And there's a reason for that. And it's because it happens to me, and it happens to me a lot. And that's what happened yesterday. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this on the x-axis like so, and then again on the y-axis. Okay, and my 3D cursor is already in the middle there, which is where I want it. So I'm going to bring in another object that is going to be a cylinder. Okay, I'm going to rotate that on the y-axis like so, 90 degrees. Okay, and then I'm going to scale it a little bit along the x-axis. All right, now if you remember yesterday or my last video, it depends on what order these are coming out in, I was trying to scale down this cylinder. Okay, so I had my side panel open here, and I think I was trying to get it down to like 1/8 of an inch. Now, according to this, if I'm to look at my mesh here, let me open this up really quick. Give me 1 second. Okay, so my z-axis, which runs up and down this way. Okay, there's my z. So I should have to scale that down to 1/8 of an inch, and my y-axis should be 1/8 of an inch. I'm not really worried about this x-axis here because that's the direction in which it's running. All right, that's just the length, so I don't really have to worry about that. And I had some issues with this yesterday, so let's give this a shot. So I have to do my y-axis, and I'm going to put that down to 1/8 of an inch. Okay, get that in there. All right, got an error already. Oh, that's because I'm in scale. Oh, Jesus God, it's starting already. All right, so let's go to my y-axis. Let's try this, 1/8 inch. Okay, and let's go to, what was the other one? The z-axis. I need to be 1/8 inch. All right, now this should have gave me a pretty normal looking cylinder here, and it did not. I had problems with this yesterday. I had to manually scale it. All right, so how many of you guys, just raise your hands, not like I can see you, had figured this out? How many people knew what I did wrong? It took me having to rewatch the video, and then I did that whole, like face palm moment, like, oh God, you're such an idiot, because it happens. I told you guys at one point, if you recall, when you create an object, right, when you bring a new object or a new primitive into your viewport, okay, and you're still in, object mode, and you rescale that object. Now you can look at my scale up here is one on my cube. It's, off. It's not 1, 1, and 1. And the same for my cylinder. Okay. So what happens is not only did this right now, I didn't even rescale. All I did was just rotate it. And that's the point that I want to make. Okay. Now I told you if you rescale an object or, rotate it or anything like that, specifically scale, I know I told you, you would control A, right? And then you would reset your transforms, whether that's location, rotation, hint, hint, or all transforms. Okay, well, what happened is I rotated this object. All right, so now when I'm trying to scale this, it's looking at this right here. Oops, my pencil is not working. Why is it? There it goes. Okay, so it's looking at this right here as my z-axis. Okay, because this used to be standing upright, and then the other one should be okay, right? So my y-axis should still be this way, and my x-axis would now be up and down. So this right now would be my x-axis. Okay, so that may not make a lot of sense. It's a lot of scribble. It may not make a lot of sense to you, but if I go Control A, try that again, Control A, and I reset. I'm just going to reset all transforms. Actually, let me go to scale, because that's what I did with the cube. And then we're going to go down to the cylinder. Okay. And I'm going to control A. And this time I'm just going to do all transforms. All right. Now I'm going to try that again. And I should be able to scale just the Z axis and the Y axis. So I want to go this way and this way just to kind of shrink this area down. All right. And that's what I had a problem with yesterday because I did not reset my transforms. I went right into it. And I even told you guys, if you're, trying to perform an operation and it's not doing what you expect it to do, to go in there and reset your transforms, whether it's scale or rotation or what have you. Chances are that you moved something, rescaled something. You did that while it was in object mode. And now it's not working because you goofed up your scale. I specifically remember telling you that because I remind myself because I fall for it every time, just like I did yesterday. All right. So like I said, Y and Z should get me into 1/8 inch, which is what I was shooting for yesterday. Let me get off of there. Still in pencil mode. All right. So let's go to Y, move that down. Let's just do 3/8. I don't want to go that much smaller. So we'll go 3/8 of an inch. Okay. And let's go to Z. We will go to 3/8 of an inch. Okay. Well, it got really small, but let's get in here. And what do you know? I've got a perfect cylinder, 3/8 of an inch. Pretty much what I was trying to accomplish yesterday. And like a big old dummy could not figure out what was going on. Like I said, this is why I remind you guys of these things, because it's things that they're common traps. I fall for them all the time. Not all the time. You get better. You definitely get better. I'm full of excuses. I'm sure I have about 10 different excuses why it got me yesterday. I'm shooting a video and I'm trying to think 3 steps ahead, and I got a lot on my mind. And like I said, guys, I'm just telling you because it happened. So remember that, if you rotate an object, and this is on object mode, when you bring in a new object, if you rescale it, you rotate it, you move it, reset your transforms, because it's going to screw you up at some point. And like me, you're not going to be able to figure out what's going on. And I don't know. And you should know better. I should know better. Right. So when I'm like, it's not doing what I expect. That's the number one thing. If it's not doing what you expect it to do, reset your transforms, because that's almost certainly the problem. All right. So now that I'm done babbling and correcting my mistake from my last video, I am going to bring in a new object. Okay. And this one is going to be a cube like so. And we are going to go over the knife tool, and bisect. Okay. Now we had went, I don't know where we went, but oh, Jesus. In one of my previous videos, we went over like loop cuts, subdividing, different ways to cut your mesh, right? So if I wanted to divide this up, I can make a loop cut, right? So a loop cut wouldn't be hard. I just, control R, and, I can place this loop cut anywhere I wanted, but I'm pretty limited. I can't spin it. I can't do anything with it. What if I wanted something a bit different, not quite that. Well, that's where this knife tool comes into play, right? So if you look over here on your left-hand side on the toolbar, that's my knife tool right there. This slanted looking line here. Okay. Or you can press K on your keyboard. Of course, there's a shortcut. All right. And you can see as I hover over these lines, I got this blue dot going on here, right? So just click on the line and just kind of extend that out to where you want it. Okay. Just like so. All right. And when you're done, now you'll see you have that tail there. When you're done, just press enter, and there's your new cut. All right. So if I go into face select, I can select each one of these faces, all 3 of them, delete it, delete my faces. And then I can actually fill this in if I want to. Okay. And there you go. I got a little bit of a different look to that cube, which I could not normally, I couldn't pull that off with, just a loop cut or subdividing, right? So a knife tool, it lets you do some pretty interesting things. Okay. So make some interesting cuts, things you couldn't otherwise pull off. You can cut it into the middle of a mesh if you need to, right? So you can bring it this way, and maybe back up again. And then there you go. So it actually cut that. All right. Now there is different, I don't want to say settings, but if you hit your knife tool, right now, I want to go straight down, right? You can just hit your Z axis, hit Z, and that will let you make a nice straight cut straight down. Okay. And the same thing goes for X and Y, depending, what axes you're trying to work on. And that comes in really handy. Plenty of times I use the knife tool. Again, this is one of those things that I use daily. And that's why a lot of these things I'm going over with you, because I use them frequently, very frequent, very frequently. And I believe that you're going to also. So these things are definitely worth knowing. So play around with the knife tool. Okay. It's going to come in very, very handy. Now, the next thing we got is called the bisect. All right. And this kind of goes hand in hand with knife. Now that I made this change here to this cube, right? Now, say I want to do a loop cut. I want to make a cut. I don't know, maybe across the top of here. I have something planned I'm going to do. Okay. Okay. Well, something's wrong because I needed to go through here. I needed to go through this cut that I just made. Now I can do part of it, like the back half. That'll go okay, right? I can run a loop cut, through here. That's not a problem. All right, but that's not what I want. I want to be on this side. I want a loop cut to come right through here. All right, so let's control R. Now what you're seeing there is the back half. That's projecting on the back half. This is not the front half. All right, so I can do part of the top. So it's all screwed up. I can't do what I want to do anymore. So how the hell am I going to do this? All right, so I can maybe do a knife tool, right? I can probably start here and, go along the Y axis and then, like that. And that's not really the best way to do it though. All right. So what I'm going to show you is back into your knife tool. We want to bisect. All right. Now this works on a selection basis, which means it depends if you have, how many of your faces you have selected. That's what it's going to bisect. All right. So in this case, I'm just going to pick all, right? Because I'm going to try and make kind of a loop cut. All right. So if I click on this edge and I start dragging it out, okay, well, now you can see the projection of a line there. And that's just, projecting where you're going to make that cut. So I can make the cut across that face now if I want to. And since I selected all the faces, that's going to go all the way around my cube. All right. Now I could have done this on just one face, two faces, wherever I want that cut to be. All right. Now, once you're done, you have some additional options you could do here. If you need to move that cut at all, you can slide that up and down. Or if you need to rotate that cut, say I just got a bad rotation, I want to even that out a little bit, I can rotate that cut. All right. And then just like the knife tool, when you're done, you press enter. Okay. Get yourself back up here. Go to face select, and I can select these individual faces. All right. An extremely, extremely useful tool to have. Trust me, you will eventually, once you start getting into some pretty interesting models and getting a little bit of experience under your belt, you're going to run into situations like this where you're like, well, how the hell do I do that? And, you're going to Google things and maybe you'll figure this out. Maybe you won't. But now you know. So you're welcome. Like I said, it does. It comes in very handy. So keep that one in mind. Knife. It's the knife tool. K on your keyboard. Okay. I was going to have a joke there, but we're going to skip that because it was corny. But anyhow, so knife tool. Remember that. So we got knife, we got bisect. Now there's one more thing I want to show you with knife, and I'll see if I can remember this one because I don't use it a lot. I've only recently just started goofing with some of these things. Well, this in particular. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this cube. Okay. And I'm going to bring in a brand new cube. All right. So Shift A, rear mesh, got a cube. Okay. So there's my cube. I'm actually going to scale this up a little bit like so. All right. And now that I scaled it, I'm going to Control A, all transforms. So I'm not goofing anything up. All right. Now, whether you know it or not, when you bring in your meshes, okay, when you start a new mesh, I'm going to bring another mesh in. We're going to Control A or Shift A. I'm sorry. And now I have, it depends. Your selection options are different, whether you're in edit mode or object mode. All right. I'm going to bring in text. Okay. Like so. All right. Now with this text here, well, first I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to move that up, G and Z. So I'm going to move that up above my cube there. 7 to get myself in orthographic mode. Now I'm going to move it on the Y axis just a little bit down this way. Okay. Now, if I want this text to say something in particular, just go back into edit mode. Okay, like so. And we'll make that say Bauer. Now just get yourself back in object mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this on the x-axis like so. It's not quite what I want, but I guess it'll work. Now I'm just going to scale the whole thing like so. All right, now I'm going to move it along the x-axis like so. Okay, so now you can see I just have this text hovering over my block there. Okay, myself in orthographic mode. If I was to go into wireframe mode, so I'm in edit, I'm going to go into wireframe mode. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. Let me go back into object mode. In wireframe mode, you can kind of see what's going to happen here. You can see how it constructed each one of these letters. All right, so it is actually making a mesh out of that. Oh, you know what? There's something I wanted to explain to you right before this, but it's fine. And I'll explain it right afterwards. And the reason it's maybe not the reason. All right, let me just show you this and I will explain what I need to explain to you afterwards. All right, so we made ourselves a little bit of a text right there, right? So it looks pretty cool. I'm going to move it over just another hair. All right, so we were talking about the knife, okay? Well, there is something called knife project. All right, so you're basically, it's like using the knife tool, but you're using another object to project that knife onto whichever the other object is. All right, so in this case, I want to make a cut in my cube, all right? And I want to use another object to indicate where that cut's going to go. And in this case, I'm going to use text, right? Now there's certain objects you can use and certain ones you cannot. All right. And that's what I'm going to explain to you as soon as I'm done here. Okay. Now, the way this works, the order that you pick these in is very important. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is pick the object that I want to make the cut in. All right. Then I need to tab into edit mode. Okay. And then I need to hit control, and then select the text or the object that I want to do the cutting. Okay. Now up here under mesh, you will see underneath bisect, I have what's called knife project. Okay. Now if I click that, you can see that something happened. So I'm going to hide my text that I had there. Right. And you can see, I'm not sure if this worked the way it did it. Yes, I believe it did. Normally it fills in like the E, the A, the B's. I guess it all depends. All right. So from here, you can extrude that out. Now tell me that's not fancy schmancy, huh? Very, very neat. It's a very, very useful tool, right? So not only for doing things like this, I think that's pretty cool, but that's just me. This actually, it works off perspective. Okay. So now that I have my text tool back up here, now if I was to take that text, right, get me back in object mode, get my text. And if I was to move that somewhere else, let's see, like rotate on the Y on the 90. That did not work the way I wanted it to. Why did it not? What did I do? Oh, maybe it's because of this here. But either way, so it works off of like projecting, right? So if I had this at just some really weird angle, right? Like so, and I was to run that project again, like maybe, how can I move this cube in a way? Let's move this way. Yeah, this is, take a second here. Okay, so I'll try like this. All right. So now I'm going to pick the cube, tab into edit mode. All right. And then I am going to hit control and then pick what I want to project. Right. And that's that. So let's go up to mesh. We'll go down to knife project. I'm going to hide that text. Okay. Now you can see what happened there. It warped the living daylights out of it. Right. And it's because it works off the perspective. Right. So the reason this one showed up really nice is I was looking in an orthographic view, top down, nuts on, just looking straight down at it. In my perspective, it turned out really nice. But this way, because my perspective is just all goofed up, it kind of projected. Think of it like a spotlight. You know what I mean? That if you shine a spotlight out here, it's just going to kind of like spread out a little bit, and it's not going to look so great behind there, when it casts that shadow. And that's kind of what's going on there. Now, if you needed to, you put yourself in orthographic mode and you can get this to clean up a little bit better, right? And I can still, I can extrude that along, however I want to extrude that. Oops, that's not working. Let me get back in the cube. Man, I am having issues today. Here we go. I wanted to extrude along normals. But anyhow, so remember that if you use that works off of, a perspective. So it depends on how you are looking at that. Okay. Now, this only works on certain objects, like I was saying. So let me get rid of this cube and this text, and I'm going to bring in another object, and I'm going to bring in two objects actually. I'm going to bring in a cube, and we're going to move that over just a little bit. And I'm going to bring in one more object, and that one is going to be a plane. Okay. So you're going to hear a term come up often. It's called like manifold, or manifold objects or manifold faces. In one way or another, you're going to hear a manifold come up. All right. And if you're anything like me, how I started out, I can be like, a man of what? Like, what the hell is a manifold? And what does that even mean? So like if I had this block here, right? So we have a thing called extrude, right? And I can click on that. I can extrude manifold. Okay. What's a manifold? Like, I don't even know what that is. All right. So a manifold is an object. You think of it like an edge, right? So it's an edge that on each side of this edge, it's connected on each side. So on this edge here, it's connected by this face and this face, right? So if I were to spin that, I'm still in pencil mode, but this edge here along the side is connected by this face and the one on the side. This edge is connected by this face and the one on that side. So it's perfectly connected. There's not a single edge that is not connected on both sides by a face. Okay. That's what's called a manifold. That's a manifold object. All right. Now, if we take this plane that we have here, now you can see that that's what they call a non-manifold object, because here's one edge. Okay. Now it's connected by a face on this side, but not on that side. Same here. We have an edge that connected on this side, but nothing on that side. And it's the same thing on all four edges, right? Now, it doesn't have to be all four edges. It could be, three edges are connected by faces, but one of them is not. All right. And that is what they called a non-manifold object. Okay. You'll hear sometimes they call them, what is it? Like a wire, like a manifold wire maybe, or a wire object. But just remember non-manifold. That's a non-manifold object. You can look it up, and it has something to do with wire. I think they call it a wire edge. I think that's it, wire edge. So a wire edge is basically a non-manifold, right? It's not connected on each side by another face. Now, the way this ties into knife project only works with non-manifold objects, right? So you couldn't project this cube onto that other cube, right? It didn't work that way. It needs to be a non-manifold. And when you looked at that text, the way the text came up, that was non-manifold, right? Because it looked just like this. It looked like a plane. It wasn't connected by faces on all sides. It was just, text. So that's the one, well, maybe not just the one limitation, but that's a limitation to knife project. And knife project, like I said, it's a very handy tool. You'll find uses for it. Trust me. So if you take this cube here, let me get rid of that again. I want to bring this back into, actually, you know what? I didn't need to get rid of that, but that's fine. So let's bring up a cube here. All right. And we'll bring up one more object, and this time it'll be another mesh, but we're going to do, like, say, a circle. But instead of all these vertices here, I'm going to make it like a, We'll give it 6 sides. All right. And I am going to move that up a little bit like so. Scale it down like so. Okay, and then we're going to try this one more time. See, now this is what would be a non-manifold edge, right? It doesn't even have a middle to it. I mean, I could give it one if I wanted to. Yeah, I can go into edit mode and press F for fill because all my edges were selected, and that will fill that in. But it's still a non-manifold object, okay? So anyhow, what I would do is I would select in my object mode, right? So I'll select the object that I want to cut into, tab into edit mode, press Control, select the object that I want to do the cutting, go up to mesh, knife project, hide my circle there, right? So that's hidden. So now you can see the face that I cut in there. Now I could actually bring that in if I want to. Okay. That's pretty cool, right? That's definitely pretty cool. Or, I could do the opposite and, bring that out, which is equally as cool. And I'm sure you can find a million uses for this along the way. You'll eventually run into some kind of situation where this is going to come in really handy. All right. So those were the, 3 things, I guess, that I wanted to go over with you in this video. So that was knife. Remember knife. It works, really, really handy. Different ways that you can, I don't want to say subdivide, but, cut up your mesh in different ways that you wouldn't normally have access to through subdivide and loop cuts and stuff like that. Then you have bisect, which is another way to make, a loop cut or cuts across awkward looking faces that, you couldn't normally make a loop cut through. And then you have knife project, which is what we have here. And it's, like I said, it's different. It took me a while before I stumbled across this one and like, ooh, what kind of wizardry is that? So once I figured it out, it was, like I said, it's a very handy tool. And that's kind of the way it goes with Blender. You start off small, do simple things. And over the course of time, you'll stumble across other things that some will stick, some won't. But anyhow, I'm just trying to give you a leg up and introduce you to a few of these things, that I've come across that I found useful. And hopefully that's going to help you along the way in your Blender journey. Alrighty. So, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Once again, if you found these videos helpful in any way, shape, or form, please like and subscribe. And also keep in mind, like I said yesterday, that, if you guys have questions, I'm going to have to start taking my subscribers first, right? I'm just going to have to. There's just too many. I have too many questions to answer. So, like I said, if you think you're going to have some questions that you're going to have to ask me, it helps to be subscribed. I'm not saying I won't answer your question. That's not going to happen. But you might be bumped a little further down on the list. I need to give preference to the subscribers first, right? It's only fair. Alrighty. So that's it. With that being said, I'm Bauer Brown, and I will see you on the next one.